Hey everybody, I'm JJ Johnson and you're watching Reality Survival. So today what I have for you is kind of a combination gear review of two different kinds of radios. First is a set of walkie-talkie handhelds, and then we have the micro mobile, the MXT 100. And these are both made by Midland, and they operate on the GMRS frequency. Well, at least the micro mobile here, this operates on the GMRS frequency only, and then the handhelds will operate on GMRS and FRS. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to talk a little bit real quick about some of the goods, the pros and cons about these radios that I see. And then we're going to do a little later on, we're going to do a little bit of distance testing and see how far the handhelds can talk to one another in kind of just an average, terrain, kind of some hills, some houses, some woods, stuff like that. And then I'll also do a test to see how far the micro mobile mounted in my vehicle, in my car, can talk to the handhelds. So just kind of a little combination there. And as far as all the specifications, I'm not going to get into every little specification on these radios. You guys can check the link in the description below, or there'll be a couple links down there to go to each one of these and see all the different specs and everything like that. And I'll also probably put up a blog post on realitysurvival.com as well that'll talk a little bit more about this in detail. But right now I'm just going to kind of give you guys my opinions, because I think that's what you guys are more interested in. Starting off with the X-Talkers here. The specific model on these is the X-Talker T75 VP3. And what I like about these, I like that they come in camouflage. I also like that they have, let me get this popped off here if I can. Definitely on there good. There we go. What I like is that it comes with a rechargeable battery pack that is essentially equivalent to 3 AA batteries. So it's a NiCad rechargeable, and then you can also put AA's in the battery compartment as well. So you can run it two different ways, and I think that's a huge bonus, because you really need to have the ability to run them that way. The other thing that I like about these in particular, especially for like a bug out situation, like a bug out radio or something like that, is that the little charger that it comes with, you have 110, and then you can also plug it into USB. And then aside from that, if you didn't want to carry the base with you, you can also plug the USB directly into the side of the radio to charge it direct as well. So when you combine it with some of those little solar panels and stuff like that, like I did that review of the Nomad Goal Zero and the Sunjack, then you can charge these up with those. So I think that's pretty sweet from a survivalist and prepper standpoint. Let's see here. And as far as the distance goes, these little radios, they did pretty good. I haven't looked and checked with the FCC to see what these are officially rated for, but what the lady from the company told me was that they were 1.5 watts. Now, I tend to imagine that may be a little overstated, and it's probably somewhere in the 0.5 watt or 1 watt range, but I'm really not sure, and I would need to check on that to be able to tell you for sure. Now, I do know that on the Micro Mobile MXT, this is a 5 watt radio, which is really cool, because as a general rule of thumb, you get about 1 kilometer or so per watt, roughly. And so you're going to be able to get more distance out of the Micro Mobile, and we'll also talk about some other benefits as far as detachable antennas and stuff. let's see here. The other thing that I like about these is they do come with a voice option, a Vox option, basically where it's a voice activated option. So you can hook up a headset to it and that kind of thing. And that's kind of cool for small team communications and that kind of stuff. They do have several channels, the sub channels, where you can be a little bit more discreet, but honestly it's not really like an encryption or anything like that. But it's going to work pretty well for you, as far as small team comms and in a close range, close distance kind of thing. You'll see our testing here in a little bit, how we were able to do on distance. I want to say it was right around a mile or maybe a little bit more, that we were able to talk to each other with just these two handhelds. So that worked out good. I will also mention that I don't have it down here to show you, but you do have to get or you're supposed to get a license to use these from the FCC. Now, it's a $65 fee. That's what I paid for mine, was $65. And you just basically go online, you put your information in, you put what kind of radio it is, and you send it in, and then like a week later your license shows up. Super easy, no big deal at all, and that license actually covers all your family members. So it's not a big deal. I know a lot of people get really paranoid about it, but it's really a super easy deal. So I'd recommend doing it and just getting it over with. So that is that, and these are compatible with pretty much all the other GMRS and FRS radios and walkie-talkies that are out there on the market as well. Now, the Micromobile MXT is actually the radio that I'm really excited about, and I think that this has got some really great applications as far as the survivalist and prepping community goes, because as far as I know, it's the only radio that I've seen like this in this frequency that you can get an external removable antenna, and that's kind of the big deal with this thing. It comes with this one, and it's just a basic little vehicle mount magnetic antenna, and it works pretty good. The one thing I would say for the manufacturer is that in mounting it in my vehicle, in a car, I know that the optimum place to mount the antenna is on the top of the car, but for the way that it looks and all that kind of stuff, a lot of people will mount them over the trunk. And in order to do that and mount the radio in the passenger compartment, it's short about 2 feet or so of antenna cord to be able to run it through the trunk and down underneath the back seat and then to the passenger compartment. So I'd recommend that they lengthen this cord about 2 feet. If you're running it in a truck or a pickup or whatever, that's not going to be an issue for you. Or if you're running it, just external, carrying it in a bag or something like that, that's not going to matter either. But if you are going to try to vehicle mount it, that's one consideration. Now let me show you all the stuff that it came with here. Basically, you've got your antenna, you've got the handheld set, and the 12-volt cigarette lighter, and then it came with just the little, the deal to mount on your dash, and it's got kind of an adhesive pad. And then they also sent me this gear keeper to mount the mic to as well. And I think they did that because they realized that this was just kind of chintzy, and then it's got the mounting plate is actually really cool, and I like the way that they've done the mounting plate a lot. It basically will slide in and lock into place like that, so that you can take it in and out. So if you wanted to have it mounted into a vehicle, you could do that, and then you could also take it out and use it remotely, if you wanted to, if you had a power source to be able to do that. Now I think what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to mount this radio in this box, and then what I did is I picked up a Slim Jim antenna. I saw another channel on YouTube, and I can't remember who it was. I'll see if I can go back and find it, and I'll put the link down here to who he was that turned me on to this. And it's basically a Slim Jim antenna that will give you the maximum potential range, out of this radio. And I also went ahead and grabbed like 20 foot or so of extra coax, so that basically I could take and I can tie this to the end of the coax and hook it to the radio, and I can run this 20 feet up in the air. Now that's the highest that the FCC will allow an external antenna to go on in this frequency, but getting 20 feet up in the air, especially if you were from a higher elevation or a good clearing, you're going to be able to get some pretty significant distance out of this. You know, both of these radios are line of sight, and you know, so obviously terrain and distance is gonna be completely variable on where you're at and what the terrain's like and all that kind of stuff. In my tests, I will show you here in just a little bit. I think we ended up between this one and this one, I think we were getting like 2 miles, and that was with my son. He got up into the second floor of the house, and then with me driving out, you know, in the local area, and we ended up getting like 2 miles, which is not bad for one of these. Now I'm actually hoping to get together with Comms Prepper. If you guys haven't seen Comms Prepper's channel, then you know, here's a link to his channel. You should definitely go check that out. And he's super knowledgeable about comms and radios and all that kind of stuff. He knows way more than I do. I'm not an expert in this field. I've used radios for a long time, but you know, I've never had any formal training with it. But he also has a Micromobile MXT 100, and so I'm hoping that we can get together and see how far these two will talk to each other, you know, kind of out around town kind of thing. So, you know, look forward to that video if we can make it happen. I think that'll be pretty cool to see what kind of distance they get. I would imagine we should hopefully be able to get around, you know, I hope 5 miles. If we can get 5 miles, I think that'd be really cool. It might only be, you know, 4 or so in this terrain because it's really hilly and you know, kind of wooded in this area. But we'll see. I guess we'll just have to see. Let's see. I think the MSRP on these radios is about $89.99, and that you can probably find them cheaper on Amazon, I would imagine. They've got 36 channels, 121 privacy codes. Theoretical distance on these, like if you were standing on 2 mountaintops, you know, one standing on one mountain and another standing on another mountain, that you could get 38 miles, they say, between each other. And in all actuality, that's a theoretical distance, and it's, you're really ever going to get anything like that. It's just not going to happen. You know, if you're getting a mile out of them, you're doing really good. They're made for short-range communication. They're not made to be a long-range communication device. So, you know, just keep that in mind. They do have a high-low power option, and the reason that a high-low power option is good is if you're in a situation like a combat situation or something like that, and you're using it for close team operation or team communications, and you don't want to have a higher signature, then you put it on the low power option, and it makes it more difficult for people to direction find you. To use a direction finding device to be able to identify your location. The lower the power, the harder it is to narrow in on that. So that is kind of a cool consideration from a tactical communication standpoint. Anything we want to mention? Okay, so the MSRP for the Micromobile is about $149. Again, you could probably find it a little bit cheaper. These radios are made in America. They're based out of Kansas City, which is kind of cool. I think that's kind of a that's actually where I grew up. So I was from that area, so I think that's kind of awesome. Okay, so the last thing on these is that, you know, the other thing this would be good for, like I said, I'm gonna see about mounting it in this can, but you could also mount it on an ATV, which is I think what Comms Prepper is planning on doing. You know, 4-wheelers, UTVs, whatever the case may be. You know, you can put it in a backpack. I mean, it's so small. You know, I mean, like, take a look. This is my cell phone, right? So that's just an iPhone 6, and you can see the size that we're talking about here. I mean, thickness, it's about the same. I've got a Mophie battery case on mine, so it's, you know, I mean, it's a very small little package. So this is a great option, and a little 5-watt radio like this, you're probably going to do better as far as distance goes than you are on like a Citizens Band or a handheld Citizens Band or something like that. I think those are usually only 1 watt. So pretty cool little combo here. I'm excited to test it further, and I hope that you guys will keep watching and see our tests that we do here as far as distance goes on each one of these radios. Alright, so we're out here testing these Midland walkie-talkies. And okay, that's cool. And we're probably right at about a mile, 3/4 of a mile to a mile, in a heavily wooded residential area with, you know, pretty good hills and stuff like that. And right now our transmissions are, you know, still pretty good. We've got some static, maybe on a 3x3 kind of situation for radio speak or whatever. I'll let you guys hear it here real quick. Hey Tanner, go ahead and give us a radio check on how it sounds now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so that's not bad. We're pretty much right at 1 mile now. We don't have a direct line of sight. We've got some hills between us, some trees and some houses and stuff like that. We'll go a little bit further and see how it does. Okay, Tan, I'm almost to the bottom of the hill now. How are you hearing me now? I said I'm almost to the bottom of the hill. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
So you're getting some breakup? Alright, so it looks like we've pretty much come to the limit of the radios. We were able to go about a mile, and as you can see, we've got some kind of hills, you know, around me. I was headed down this long hill, and that's pretty much when it started to kind of break up, because we kind of lost the line of sight. There's houses and a lot of trees. We live in a very wooded area, and these hills between us. Getting a mile out of these little handsets is pretty good, I think. It's, you know, better than some of the ones that I've used in the past, so that's not too bad. I'm pretty impressed with that. So I've got my vehicle radio mounted back here, and now we're going to do a test on the vehicle radio and see how it does. I've got my son sitting on the front porch of the house. We're going to see how far we can go before we kind of start to break up. Okay, we're approaching a mile. How does it sound now?
About 4 or 5.
Alright, so with the radio, car radio talking to the handheld, we're about a mile now, and it's just starting to break up a little bit. Is that about right?
Yeah, about so.
Roger that. Okay, so we got about a mile and a half before we started getting some static and stuff like that, just with him being on the ground level with the 1.5 watt handheld, you then using the 5 watt MXT mini mobile. Okay, let's see how far this goes. You ready to go?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so as you see there, I've got the radio mounted in a box, and then we've got the Slim Jim antenna. We ran that up the flagpole, and now we're gonna go out, and I've got the handheld, and we're gonna see how far it can talk to me and how far I can receive it. Because on the last test, we got about 1.5 miles where he could talk to me and I could talk to him. But at the 2 mile point, he could still hear me fine, but he just couldn't transmit. So that little radio just didn't have the transmit power, but it was receiving fine from the MXT. So now we'll see the ultimate distance and how far this MXT can get to this handheld. So stick with me, we'll get it done. Okay, bud, I'm about 2.5 miles away. Can you hear me now? I just heard one of his transmissions at 2.5 miles. And I kind of came up on this hill here and got out of the car, because I know being in the car is going to cut down the signal a little bit. But it looks like about 2.5 is about our range. I went a little further than that and I wasn't getting anything. And I came back, and at about 2.5, that's where I heard him. So I've got him making transmissions about every 10 or 20 seconds, and so it looks like that's about where we're at with the Slim Jim, and the handheld is about 2.5. So that's not too bad. I mean, really, the limitations are on this side with the handheld.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So there you go. I can hear him. Yeah, bud, I can hear you. Give me a countdown if you can hear me back. We'll see if he says anything. I kind of doubt it, but we're mostly just receiving at this point. So anyway, guys, that is the extent of the tests I can do with the radios that I've got now. You know, I definitely appreciate it when you guys click the thumbs up button, when you share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And don't forget to live the 6 Ps. And let me know what radios you guys use for your comms, you know, down in the comments below. And don't forget to click the link and go check out the Midland site as well. I'll have some links in the description for that too. Anyway, guys, take care and stay safe, and I'll see you in another video soon.